Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to Leo season. This reading is for anyone who's Aquarian identified. That includes Aquarius sun, rising, and moon placements. If you happen to have other placements in Aquarius and you want to listen through the lens of those archetypal energies, this reading is for you as well. Everyone's chart has all 12 signs, and if you listen deeply, there's something in any horoscope for you too. All right, Leo season begins on July 22nd and ends on August 22nd in 2024. I'm going to offer a channeled reading and what feels like the main messages coming through for Aquarians. And then I'm going to go through the astrology week by week, pretty much following the lunar cycle through Leo season, specifying a little bit more with practicalities and timing. So, first of all, Aquarius, Leo is your opposite sign, and we always find our own reflection in opposition. It might seem like it is 180 degrees different from you, but it's actually another end of a continuum and spectrum of energetic possibility. When Leo shows up astrologically, these are seasons and periods of time that are asking you to feel into the ways that you put yourself out into the world, how you come into relationship with others, how others come into relationship with you. There are notions that are important to examine under any kind of Leo influence that have to do with partnerships, contracts, and agreements. Basically, how you're showing up in especially one-on-one dynamics and any kind of contractual relationships. This Leo season is really asking Aquarius to bring all of yourself into the world. It is a period of time that you benefit the most from when you show up as heartfelt, authentic, and honest. Heartfelt, authentic honesty doesn't just happen for a lot of people. I'm going to say, especially Aquarians sometimes. There's an ability to detach a little bit, to see many different sides of a possibility. I think Aquarius as an energy archetype really presents prismatic, multitudinous possibility. And Aquarius as a symbol actually represents multitudes and groups of people. And so sometimes there's a little bit of a conundrum for Aquarians to figure out who they are and what actually is honest and what is authentic, because it can, I think, sometimes be challenging to feel a sense of central location when your perspective is naturally inclusive of a lot of different perspectives. That is a gift as well as a challenge, and I'm going to speak to that more in a moment. But first, I want to say that this is a period of time that is really asking you to feel into your heart, especially when it comes to important relationships and any kind of evolution or progress that you want to experience in those relationships. We need to feel where you're coming from. We need to have a sense of what's true for you. This is a time to not be shy or worried about how you might come across. This is a time to love yourself and believe in yourself and notice where you might block or thwart your own energy through dislocation and disassociation, or survival mechanisms and habits that may have really deeply entrained you to be conscious of other points of view before you're really aware of where you're coming from. The feeling that I have is that your relationships benefit from your willingness to be in your heart and to speak from your heart. And that this is a challenge at this time because it requires you to do some investigation and maybe even some excavation, and to get into parts of your psyche and the interdimensional aspects of your relationships that have to do with where your energy gets caught up and entangled with other people, maybe where you have specific vulnerabilities or fragilities with people, and definitely in spaces where there is a mixing or blending of resources. That happens through sex, for sure. That happens through inheritances and debts. Definitely happens in any kind of partnership where there's shared resources. It also happens in business partnerships and collaborations if there are shared projects or something like that. So there's a real need for you to investigate the complexities of your feelings right now and do some work over the course of this season to understand more deeply how you're feeling, what is true and authentic and honest for you, and then to have heartfelt and courageous conversations, brave conversations. Brave conversations are not always safe. And the idea of like a safe space that doesn't present any kind of danger for anybody is, first of all, a fiction. It doesn't really exist. And secondly, if that's what we're striving for, it can really create a pretty small box to be in, mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. And rather than thinking about creating a safe space, you might consider what it is to create a brave space. And that's the kind of space that really empowers you and anyone else that you might be in conversation with to come forward with radical authenticity and honesty. And radical authenticity and honesty do require some kind of sense of safety. But here we're not talking about the notion of safety where nothing ever feels uncomfortable and, nothing quote unquote bad ever happens. The idea here is that there's safety in expression. That means that there's willingness to listen. There's curiosity. There's capacity to work with our own material, to take responsibility for our own emotions, reactions, situations, etc., and to hold space for difference. And inside of those differences, to not get offended or defensive when somebody else's needs or opinions are different than yours, but actually to open up conceptually to see where more authentic communication can happen. And in that authenticity, maybe to stretch your own sense of possibility for yourself and others and see what new kinds of situations might be able to emerge that you didn't even imagine could happen before. Over the course of Leo season, there are definitely some negotiations that a lot of you are trying to figure out with other people. These negotiations feel like they are dealing with the hard stuff. So money, vulnerabilities, needs, honesty and dishonesty, sex and intimacy, power, situations that maybe have a lot of complexity or layers to them that have been going on for a long time, perhaps, and might need some detangling. These are the kinds of themes that are starting to come up in Leo season for Aquarians. And over the course of Leo and Virgo season, a lot of you are trying to work it out with your significant partners and important others. And I want to be clear here that important others in this moment don't necessarily have to be long-term relationships. So like I said before, anyone who you might be involved in any kind of contractual relationship with, that would certainly be somebody to think about in this moment. So that could be an employer, it could be a family member. To a certain extent, sometimes it can even be strangers. And that would be the case if things are coming up for you where you're recognizing that you're really ready for a shift in how you feel yourself approaching relationships in general. Some of you are getting the sense that you want to open up into new social dynamics. Maybe you're ready for new friends. Maybe you are going through some kind of big change in your family life or your home life. Many of you are. And this is putting you into some new social spaces, and you might be encountering old habits, anxieties, patterning around relationship that you're ready to disrupt. And in that case, you're having conversations first with yourself. So again, trying to really do the work to untangle and understand what's happening internally. And then you are doing work in these new relationships to communicate in different ways, to be open and receptive to new and different kinds of offers, and also to put yourself out in new and different kinds of ways. The other big theme for Leo season for Aquarians has to do with what feels like an issue of resource. And so again, this might have to do with partners. It could be just a kind of different vantage point that I'm looking at right now that has to do with what I was just mentioning a moment ago. But there's also a personal aspect to this as well. And when I say resource, for sure, money and material resources, your personal possessions are definitely part of this. But your energy, your capacity, and your attention, and your vitality, like your life energy, these are really important areas of resource. And I have a sense that we can't really separate one from the other. So if we're thinking about money and possession and material resource, we're also thinking about your labor, we're thinking about your time, we're thinking about emotional investment. So think about resources broadly. The feeling that I have for you right now and what your chart is telling me is that you are actually in a really creative moment. It feels like you have been making a lot of changes. I mentioned a moment ago that maybe there are new situations for some of you in your home and your family life. Home and family are immense areas and big ideas. They could mean a lot of things. So make the meaning that's meaningful for you. But my feeling is that there's a disruption to the status quo and a sense of stability that is no longer stable. Many people are experiencing wild instability through no conscious choice of their own, just because we are living in deeply unstable times. There is a lot of chaos, there's a lot of disruption, there are a lot of things that are falling apart and that need to fall apart in order to be rebuilt or reimagined. So when I say the disruption to your stability, changes in your home and family, it could be across the board in terms of the causes and the symptoms that are coming up. But however you're making the meaning for this, the sense that I have is that what has been a stable foundation for you is now shifting. And in this shift, I really want to encourage you to try and see where there's liberation and creative energy that is being opened up. The sense that I have is that you are in a kind of new opportunity space, and a lot is getting reformed right now, and you have a lot of creative power, but you also have habits. And there's a feeling right now of needing to readjust and move differently with your habits, particularly around how you use your resources how you use and access your resources in order to create whatever it is that you want to create, in order to participate in however you might want to be participating with creative energy in the world. Again, we're living in a time of profound disruption and chaos and upheaval and discord, but there's also a lot of world making that's happening. A lot of people are taking the opportunity of this chaotic moment to put new agendas forward. Many are trying to continue old agendas, but this is an opportunity moment where when you are working intentionally, especially when you're working with resources of time, energy, attention, yours and others, and material resources, especially when you're working with other people, there's a lot that you can do. So over the course of Leo season, I want to invite you to really pay attention to the ways that you organize yourself around what you have. And what you have is enormous. So you have what you innately, naturally have as a human being. You have your energy, you have your intelligence, you have all the inheritances that have been given to you through your ancestry. They live in your body, your mind, your spirit, your psyche. You have access to ancestry that is beyond your blood family, your actual DNA. You have access to learning and knowledge and the cumulative wisdom and the dreams of your generation and those who have come before. You also have baggage, like anybody. You're carrying around a load. And your baggage can be a significant source of your learning. We develop our gifts and our strengths by working with our challenges. And our wounds are often the source of our deepest healing and how we can be in service to others. And then, of course, you have what you contain on a spiritual and energetic level, all kinds of different ways to think about that. And then you have your material possessions, or you have access to material situations. So that includes your capacity for labor, all kinds of different labor people do: emotional labor, psychic labor, spiritual labor, manual labor, intellectual labor, etc. And how you can orient towards what you have has everything to do with what you can create in the near and upcoming future. So this feeling of creating something, a lot of you have dreams that are brewing in your imagination right now. And I want to say that this is a period of expansion for you where there are some new opportunities arising, doors are opening, and there are beginnings for these dreams to begin to manifest. However, we're still a year or two away from the dream in its entirety actually being ready to be known. And so, what I mean by this is that none of us are here as individuals, even though we think we are a lot of the times. And it feels like that in our individuated bodies. It's like, I'm me, you're you. We have different lives. We're different kinds of people. And we're all products of our environment. The causes and conditions that have made us are ongoing and emergent, and they are not separate from one another. So you and I are both alive at the same time, at least, for now. I don't know. I'm recording from the past. I might not be alive anymore by the time you listen to this, but I was just a little bit a while ago. And so somehow in our timelines, we are connected. There's a kind of co-emergence or co-arising for anything that exists. And when it comes to dreams and ideas of what could possibly be, my feeling is that dreams and ideas have their own volition a lot of the times, and they are coming through in multiple different areas. And we see this all the time in like how popular movements form, how there's kind of cultural zeitgeists that get brought into being in multiple different places, in multiple different languages, but all kind of around the same time. The idea of like the 100th monkey, right? Like something is happening over here, something is happening over there. They don't seem to be connected, but they're part of the same thing. So you have a dream right now. It feels like there is this expansion of creative potentiality that is emerging in your consciousness. This dream is not only yours. It is a dream that is a collective dream. It's a dream that is an emergent dream. It is a dream that necessarily requires a kind of readiness in the environment for you to be able to realize your piece of the dream. Some of you are already really clear that your dream requires other people and maybe other beings who are not human in order to succeed. I want to really applaud this if you have that feeling, if you kind of have a notion that what you're moving towards is collaborative or communal or collective in some way. There's a lot of energy for Aquarius just in general to be involved with a kind of larger picture. Again, I was already talking about this. The symbolism of your sign represents multitudes. And so whenever you tap into that collective energy and you feel yourself as part of something greater, you are accessing the inherent archetypal power of your sign. However, there are also particular collaborations that some of you are thinking about right now, and you're interested in contributing in certain ways to particular movements, or maybe getting involved with certain kinds of organizing, or maybe there are groups or organizations or networks that you want to be a part of. There may be particular creative dreams that you know are going to require more than just you in order to manifest. And I feel like these ideas and dreams are not ready to be fully formed yet, but they are asking for your attention. They want to make more space in your imagination. So this is a really good time for you to fantasize, which is always fun. This is a great time for you to engage your imagination. When it comes to how your imagination can support and serve you right now, remember that anything that exists was imagined by someone at some point. Before we can bring something into form, we have to have an image of it. We need to speak it out into the world. And when you are playful, spontaneous, again, imaginative in the sense of open to possibilities and not getting stuck in what you or other people think is logical or practical or something like that, then you're making space for this energy to grow. This is what you want right now. You want that energy to grow. You want new neural pathways to start to get developed in your consciousness. You want new possibilities to feel invited into your world. This is not a time to worry about whether something is possible. The environment and the collective environment is in an enormous space of change right now. We're actually working energetically with patterns that are dying at the moment. I don't know if you've noticed, it's a big theme in the world. But the overarching energy at the moment is we need to help what is no longer useful break down and die a good death. And if you look at trees in the forest, dying a good death, when they die, they become nurseries, right? Like a tree dies in the forest and its body then becomes nourishment for the forest floor, for all kinds of plants and animals. That's what we want to bring into the world right now. And if there are ways that you can participate in the breaking down and dismantling of oppressive structures, of old ideas that are no longer useful, of old models of leadership, or even people who are in leadership that need a little bit of support to step aside, that might be a great use of your energy at the moment. When you participate with helping old energy move out, you're also making space for new energy to come in. Now is not the time to worry about what's possible in the future, because our consciousness is actually needing to be involved with wrapping up what is coming in from the past. This present moment is already the past. And this present moment is definitely built upon what has already happened and what is already available. And when we're trying to think and imagine into the future, what we can access for the most part is what we already know. When we help what we already know transform, and when we stop investing in it in the same ways, when we start looking at the present moment as something that is breaking down rather than something that is moving us forward, then we can come to our lives with the energy of doulas, of friends who help transformative processes occur. This is what we need right now. And I think that this is what your chart is asking for. But as old ideas lose their grip, lose their form, new ideas then have space to emerge. So the feeling that I have for you is imagine, enjoy imagining, fantasize. What could this feel like? What could it include? But don't be in a rush to figure out what it is. Aquarius, you have some time. You have at least until next June to be in some kind of process with your resources and your energy and your time and your attention and how you're engaging with resources of others. You have at least the next 11 months to be in some kind of back and forth space where you're thinking about it could work like this or it could work like that. This is what I value. This is what I'm done with and don't want anymore. Careful examination of your values and your value systems will serve you so much right now. That will also help you open up space for new values to come in. You want to invest differently. And for some of you, I mean that literally. If you actually have material resource, financial resource enough for you to invest, I really want to encourage you to invest in people, places, things that are helping transform society, not seeking to preserve the status quo. Let's move it on. All right, so those are the main themes that are coming through for Leo season. Now let's go a little bit week by week and talk about some timing and what's coming in. So Leo season begins with a full moon. This is a full moon in your previous sign in Capricorn, right at the last degree. So right at the cusp between Capricorn and Aquarius. This is a full moon that is also conjunct the outer planet Pluto, and Pluto is making its way into your sign this year. If you've been following me or pretty much any astrologer, you've probably heard that Pluto is entering Aquarius. This is the first time this planet has been here in about 250 years. It's going to stay in your sign for the next 20 years. You've never experienced this in your lifetime, and you will never experience this again. When we're working with outer planet energies, we are always working with collective energies. So in the way that I've been talking about what's happening in the world, I'm also talking about what's happening for you because you're part of the collective. As the world is shifting, so are you. As the world is shifting, your needs, your identity, your priority, your values, your possibilities, they're all changing and transforming as well. This is a full moon that is really highlighting the need for you to change. And you've been feeling this need to change for at least a year or two now. But I think that this is a full moon that is amplifying that change is happening. It is no longer off there in the future or out there in the future waiting to happen. It is here, it is present, it is happening. There's a feeling of finality with this full moon and some kind of completion. And the message that's coming in is that this is a full moon to help us wrap things up. By the end of the year, a lot of us are looking at exit plans. This will take us through the end of 2024. So when I say exit plan, time to wrap things up, what comes to your mind first and foremost? Pay attention to that. It's going to mean something different for every Aquarian. Make the meaning that's meaningful for you. The feeling that I get here is that whatever it is that you are wrapping up, it has been an enormously significant part of your life, at least for the last 15 years. And as whatever this is ending, it is really opening space for you to radically transform in your identity and potentially also in your body and in your relationships. Now, that can mean a whole lot of things. It might be referencing an aging cycle or developmental chapter that's changing, significant projects ending, significant relationships shifting. Some of you are figuring out how to untangle yourself from very significant sources of oppression in your life. These sources could include internalization of societal narratives or family patterns. They could include dis-ease, ways of being that have negatively impacted your health. They could include being part of something, an organization, a company, a lineage of some kind that has kept you in kind of a locked feeling place that now you are ready to get out from. So, the question that I have for you in this first week of Leo season is, how can you participate as an individual with this collective dismantling and falling apart? In the ways that you feel a personal need for more liberation, how do you see this in the world as a larger need? And how can you contribute to more people getting to experience that same kind of liberation? If there are reasons that you have felt boxed in and like you cannot be yourself, or you can't move in the ways that you want to move, you can't be honest in your relationships, why? What's kept you from that? Is it societal conditioning and ideas of right and wrong, or what's going to be successful or failure? Those are narratives. They're not necessarily natural. How can you tell a different story? The first week of Leo season takes us from the full moon into the fourth quarter, or the waning quarter square. During this period of time, I feel you making preparations. As we get into the second week of Leo season, from the 29th through August 4th, I feel that these preparations are really landing in your immediate environment and vicinity. This could include your body, your home, your family, and then the land or the terrain, the area that you are in right now. The sense that I get is that there's something that is shifting that is really close in. It's really personal. And what is shifting is multidimensional. So we have you shifting your values. We have you moving into a different kind of emotional space. When I say values, I'm also talking about attachments. So shifting your attachments, you might feel ready to let go in ways that you have been really latched on for a long time. You might feel like you want to hold something that's very precious in a way that you've never held it before. Your communication patterns are shifting because you're thinking about things differently. You're perceiving things differently. Your energy is changing right now. You have more awareness of what needs your energy, what takes your energy, and you want to reallocate and redistribute where that energy is going. It feels to me like you are ready to open up some new creative space. And so some of you simply might be cleaning up some space in your house so that you can make a different kind of mess. Roll out a sketch pad and get to painting a new painting or something like that. Basically, the feeling is you need to stretch out a little bit more. You need to get more curious, try some new things. So whatever might be keeping you from that, in this first and second week of Leo season, I feel you making space so that you can have a more kind of expansive experience in your personal expression and creativity. This is somewhat tender, especially when it comes to communication, because some of you might be feeling pressed and maybe even a little bit volatile in your energy around this time. As we move towards the new moon on August 4th, there's an increasing amount of fire element in the atmosphere. And this is coming out in your one-on-one dynamics and relationships. Now, I think for a lot of you, this feels fun. This feels collaborative. This feels like creative tension with another person or other people. But for some of you, there may be also feelings of polarization and opposition, or some kind of conflict emerging, or a feeling of, again, something coming to a close. And so if there is a sense of you need to reallocate your resources, your time, your energy, your attention, your material resources, and a lot of those have been going into certain relational situations that are no longer satisfying, productive, etc., then this might be a period of time when you're increasingly clear about what it is that needs to change, and you have basically less and less capacity to ignore it and more capacity to just get it out there. And so there could be some like, oh my God, I said it moments. If that is happening, Aquarius, I really want to encourage you to go with it. Roll with it. If it came out and oops, you didn't mean to, but you said it anyway, and now you're like, fuck, you got to deal with it. This is the moment. It came out for a reason. However, on the new moon, Mercury is stationing retrograde, and it will be retrograde from August 4th until August 28th. This retrograde is working in the space of intimacy, relationship, shared resources, secrecy, privacy, and what is out there and explicit. So a lot of you actually need to have a come to Jesus moment with some kind of important person. It feels like there is a need to really speak something, reveal something. Maybe someone has a need to speak or reveal something to you, and you just need to be there for it and then roll with it, because this is energy that definitely needs to move. Don't get fussed. It doesn't have to be dramatic or extreme, even though we're working with Leo, which is a very dramatic energy. Again, it's your opposite, Aquarius. So if you think Leo is dramatic, maybe get a mirror out and look at yourself. You got some drama in there, even if you keep it under locks. Anyway, this doesn't need to be intense. There could be needs to just actually deepen intimacy in certain relationships and talk about things that have been hard to talk about before. Some of you aren't having big, intense, or intimate relationships with significant others. You might be talking to your accountant or your financial planner or somebody who's helping you prepare your will. There are feelings right here of needing to look at what is often obscured and kind of below the surface. And so that could include things that are complex and hard to talk about, like finances, like sex, like power. I've said it all already. And it could also include what we haven't talked about before, again, because there might have been some kind of layering or obscuration even in your own consciousness. The week after the new moon, as we move into the first quarter on August 12th, is a week that is really asking you to be with the unknown of what is happening and forthcoming. This is the feeling of a period of time when a lot of adjustments are being made, micro adjustments as well as larger adjustments. You are best served at this time to really attend to what you don't want to look at. So if there are things where you're like, I hate talking about that, I hate looking at that, this is really the time to do it. It's kind of cleanup energy right now. Again, because we're working in a part of your chart where other people are really strongly situated, it may not be you that's initiating these conversations. It could be somebody else that's saying, hey, we need to look at this and deal with this now. From the 12th of August, basically until the end of Leo season, so the last 10 days or so, we are working towards a full moon in Aquarius. On August 19th, this is a full moon at 27 degrees of Aquarius. So if you happen to know your degree placements, definitely take a look and see if that's close to one of your natal planets or points. But regardless of the degree, this is a full moon that is illuminating you, your sign, your body, your being. And I'll also say that this week, or this chunk of days, from the 15th until the 20th of August, is one of the most bonkers chunks of days in 2024. There's so much happening astrologically over the course of these couple of days. A lot of what's happening has to do with larger time spans and storylines. I don't want to get too lost in the sauce with all of these details. So what I want to say is that there is a shift, and you have been preparing, I think, for this shift for some amount of time. It may feel sudden, and you kind of knew that it was coming. Even if you weren't preparing for it, there is a sense that it's been brewing, it's been percolating for a while. What is shifting, again, might not be of your own volition. So it may be larger circumstances that are happening in the world around you, and you need to respond to those circumstances, or they are changing your circumstances. If that's the case, I also want to say, I don't think it's a total surprise. I think that there have been some warning signs, right? For example, right, like climate scientists have been saying, at least for the last 50 years, that we would reach the point that we are right now. And so if you haven't really spent some time yet thinking about what a major climate event in your immediate area would look like, or how you might need to prepare for it, it's not like you didn't know. You may have made a choice to not invest your time, energy, or resources in that direction, and that's fine. But if it happens, it's not like you didn't know that it could happen. Now, I'm not saying that that is what's going to happen. I think a lot of you are dealing with situations of your own making, or situations that you've collaborated on with other people. But this is a period of time where something is ready to give way. And you are being changed by it. Your resources are being changed by it. The way that you are working with resources, with time, energy, attention, and money, they are changing. And over the course of the next 11 months, you're trying to figure out how to reallocate, divest, reinvest, reconfigure what the situation is in order to move towards some, I hope, creative feeling new chapter. And the last thing I'll say, once again, is that this new chapter is not you in isolation. It's you in collaboration. You might be collaborating with one or many people, regardless of your human collaborators or your presently human collaborators. I want to say that you are always in collaboration with nature. You're always in collaboration with the elements. You're always in collaboration with your chart and with planetary energy. You're always in collaboration with your ancestors, and you are always in collaboration with those who have not yet arrived. And when you tune in with these multidimensional relationships and interconnections, you are much more supported than when you tell yourself the story that you're in this alone. There's actually so much support, there's so much allyship for you in whatever it is that you're trying to do. And you get to receive that support and allyship the more that you give back to it. So if you can recognize where you are interconnected and working in tandem with others, if you can actively move towards building allegiances, engaging in new and different kinds of collaboration or cooperation, having conversations that bridge differences and help people hear each other better and come into new kinds of alignments, this is so beneficial for you right now. Again, you don't need to know exactly what it looks like. All we need for you in Leo season is to open your mind to the possibility and open your heart in your relationships so that you can talk about it honestly and see where you go from there. Over the course of Leo season, there's a lot that I want to support you with, and maybe you would find it beneficial. First and foremost, every Monday morning from 8 to 9:30 a.m. on Zoom, you can find me in Somatic Space. That's an online class where we work experimentally, playfully, imaginatively, creatively with the astrology of the week ahead. I think about astrology as a somatic score. I use the astrology of the week ahead to design some kind of sequence that brings us into our bodies, into our hearts, and into connection with the multidimensional realms. That includes our spirits, ancestors, guardians, and guides. This is also a space where we think about how we can engage ourselves in the collective unfolding. And it's open for drop-in, or you can buy a membership. It's easy to come to class. You can also get the recording if you can't attend live. On Saturday, August 3rd, I'll be joining my colleague Gabs in the Nebula Lab. The Nebula Lab is an embodied astrology hosted space. Over the course of 2024, Gabs is exploring world making with Neptune. Neptune is an outer planet, an intergenerational signature that speaks about the dream of the era. We're all part of generational cohorts, and each of our cohorts has a different dream. In this particular class, I'm going to be talking about Neptune in your natal chart. There are a lot of ways to think about Neptune, and in previous sessions of the Nebula Lab, Gabs has been looking at that as a generational aspect, etc. But in this class, we're going to be talking about it in your natal chart. Working with Neptune is really powerful. It helps to unlock much deeper connection with the spiritual realms and the subtle body. It also really helps to support and facilitate creativity and this kind of multidimensional communion. If you want to learn more about your natal chart, you don't need to have previous experience with astrology. You just need to sign up for the class. Later in August, on the 18th, my colleague Sherry Taylor is beginning a new 3-part devotional cycle working with Saturn in Pisces. Aquarius, Saturn is your ruling planet. It is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and a lot of folks out there talk about the relationship of the planet Uranus to Aquarius. I definitely consider Uranian energetics and Aquarian energetics to be highly complementary and connected, but Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. Saturn is associated with the intelligence of whole systems working together. As the original builder of civilization, Saturn in its archetypal forms really helps us to tune in with purpose and purposefulness. On August 18th, Sherry will be joined by the astrologer Anders Renee, who specializes in vocational astrology. If any of you are thinking about your next steps as a calling or something that you want to offer to the world, or if you have any kinds of other considerations that you want to explore through astrology in relationship to your vocation, your career, your sense of purpose or path, this would be a great workshop for you. You can drop in just once, or you can sign up for the whole 3-part series with Sherry. This is a devotional practice where you are going to be guided through multiple layers of uncovering your path and purpose with the assistance of Saturn. A couple of days later, the day after the full moon in your sign, Janata Petrus will be holding her monthly Artistic Alchemy full moon circle, and this is the celebration of Aquarius as the complement and polarity of Leo. Janata is an amazing facilitator. She holds such a generous and abundant space, providing prompts and practices to help us access and integrate our creative energy in our artistic projects and in our lives. This is an amazing support space for anyone who is feeling the need to live more creatively, and also for anyone who wants communal support in ongoing artistic or creative projects. Finally, later this year, October 24th through 27th, I will be co-facilitating a 4-day retreat in real life, not on the internet, in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado with my colleagues, Michelle and Ramon Gabriel-Laff Parrish. This retreat, called Body of Stars, is an exploration of how astrology is a really practical technology for our lives. Michelle and Ramon are both longtime activists, particularly working in the realms of food and environmental justice, as well as community organizing and preparedness. When it comes to thinking about what's next in society, in communal spaces and collective spaces, Michelle and Ramon are people who have a lot of ideas and lived experience and practical skills. I'll be bringing some body-centered practices and astrology into the mix. Ramon is also a fabulous astrologer, and together we're going to be opening up space to be in communion with one another, in connection with the land, and visioning and working with bringing the future into the present moment. And we would love to have you there. You can find more information on everything that I just mentioned at embodiedastrology.com. You can also follow us in our social media channels on YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you stream your podcasts. You can find us everywhere at Embodied Astrology. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this horoscope serves you well. I'm wishing you all the best in Leo season and beyond. Bye for now.